are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you down here. Good.
Come on,
hey,
you're
good
already
morning,
running
everybody.
late.
Hello, Howie. How are you? It's always good to see you here. Listen, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce David Smith today. Representative Smith has been working now for several months, as you can imagine, as other lawmakers, about following up on this the fast and furious conversation we have. We have members on both sides of the aisle who are very anxious about this. From my standpoint, this is a fact-finding mission. This is a chance to find out, you know, let's be serious, folks. Crimes happened here. We have a law enforcement agent who was killed here. This is done on Arizona soil with an Arizona scam that occurred. And what this is all about is starting to bring some attention and giving our citizens a chance to come down to the state capitol and have their voice heard here. We know there are victims in this group. We don't know who they all are. So it's responsible for the Arizona legislature to start having some hearings so that we can do some fact-finding and see what this is going to work, where it's all going to come out. I'm thankful that Representative Smith has spent this kind of time going through this process, trying to do enough background fact-finding so that we can go ahead and start this process. The committee's being formed this week. We're going to start hearing very shortly. It's a bipartisan commission, and the hopes is that we can, number one, get all the facts on the table. Two, is there going to be a chance here that we can kind of get this process moving and we can push back on all the information that you're not getting. So this is all about transparency in this process, and I think it's time Arizona stood on Arizona soil and started to talk about this issue that affected our state, that affected our people, where we have victims. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Representative Smith, and thank you, and we'll take some questions when he's done.
Thank you for coming here. Thank you for coming here today. I approached the speaker some months ago and said that I was interested in having an investigation as to what laws, if any, were violated under Arizona laws. And number two, if we needed to pass legislation to prevent this from happening in the future. So this committee is going to be limited to two purposes. One, were any laws violated? Number two, do we need to create new laws to prevent it from happening? And it's going to be an investigative committee. We hope to make recommendations. If we need to criminally prosecute anyone. But that's what we're going to do. So thank you very much for coming.
David.
Okay. Let me take a minute. I know, Howard, you want it.
You're going to have to just speak up a little bit because of the crowd.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
I'd like to introduce State Attorney General Tom Horn, who came down, and then I want to introduce our Sheriff in my county, Yavapai County.
Thank you. Well, I'm here at the request of Representative Smith, who's an old friend, and who asked me to come to say that we will follow the investigation that occurs here in the legislature. We will process the information. What we then do with it, I can't predict at this point. We haven't made any decisions. But we will certainly follow what comes out of Representative Smith's investigation and then make a determination once we get any information from him.
Thank you, Attorney General. If you don't know who the new Sheriff of Yavapai County is, his name is Scott Masher. He's just down here in support, so I wanted to give him a chance to make a few statements.
We just came down today to support this investigation. We know pretty much the background facts that guns went across the border and ammunition went across the border. We just don't have cooperation from federal officials, and we think that this will give us some more insight as to what happened. And as president of the Arizona Sheriff's Association, I can tell you I spoke with the majority of the sheriffs in Arizona who also support this investigation. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Now,
thank you. We'll take a few questions.
David,
Anybody have any questions?
David, come on up.
David,
But let's talk about.
You know, Howie, let me just tell you, I'm running the conference, so I'll invite them up as they are.
Well, okay. Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
might say that this is a federal matter and the state shouldn't get involved. What would
Yeah.
how would you respond?
Well, I would imagine they would say that this is a federal matter and the state shouldn't get involved. It's probably one of those things that Arizona has a habit of doing, pushing back when we are involved. This happened here in our state. This happened in southern Arizona. This happened to people who lived here and worked here, and now a Border Patrol agent who was killed here. So if the pushback is that this is a federal issue, I would argue that that's not the case. Our sheriffs are very concerned about this process. Our citizens are very concerned about this process. How did this happen here and why? And I think if it's just about fact-finding, then nobody should be afraid of us putting together a commission to talk about it.
What do you think people who think this is a waste of time and money? How do you expect to get information when U.S. congressmen have spent months, more than a year trying to get information?
Well, thank you for that. I do not believe there's ever a waste of time or money to get to the bottom of what happened to a Border Patrol agent who was killed here with guns that left here and ended up in the hands of drug lords. Okay. So I think at the bottom, at the very last piece, Arizona should be concerned about this process. And if there's concerned about us spending some money on this, we're having a meeting. We're having a conversation about who these victims are and why they shouldn't be part of this process. So we waited long enough for the feds. This thing is now well over a year old, so I think it's time to move forward and see where we're really going to be and see what really happened.
Okay, Andy, what about the fact that some of this goes back to 2006 in the Bush administration? Will you be investigating the Bush administration too?
We're investigating this. No, there is no facts that won't be taken in on this committee. This is not a partisan issue. We have Democrat lawmakers who have been here, who have contacted me and wanted to be a part of this. There's nothing about crossing party lines when you have an officer who's down. So so thank you for that. The committee is going to take its steps, and we're going to see where this leads. And there's nothing that's off the table.
Speaker Tobin, are you guys going to start from scratch, or do you have some agreement with ISA or Grassley about sharing documentation?
There's been no agreement with anybody in the feds. This is just like starting a new committee, trying to find out, open it up to the community and say, hey, do you have some information you'd like to bring here? And do you want to answer anything more to that, or is that about right?
No, we might invite them to come here and speak if they want to come and give us some information. But we're concerned with primarily the gun owners who were forced to enter in this fast and furious situation. They were forced to sell guns when they didn't want to and threatened to have their licenses taken away from them. We're going to start there, then we'll go from there. There's 1,500 guns or more missing, and we don't know where they are. And hopefully we'll be able to find it. That affects Arizona and Arizona citizens. We want to protect Arizona citizens from this type of conflict.
So you expect the gun dealers to testify?
I do.
Can you compel people to testify, like the feds can?
We got subpoena power if we want to do that. We're hoping they'll volunteer. I got some information that they'd like to come out and tell us what happened. I think you would like to hear what happened, because you're not getting it from the feds.
How do you expect to get any of this information when U.S. congressmen can't get this information?
Because we got local people who know what happened. They're willing to come, willing to talk, and to tell the Arizona people what happened. We need to know that.
Which local people
The gun
are you
owners.
talking about?
The gun owners.
What information are the gun owners
Well,
going to
we're
get?
going to find out. We're going to find out. But I know one thing. Some of them will testify they were forced to do it under the threat of losing their license to sell firearms in the state. That's wrong, and we're going to investigate.
How many crimes in Arizona have definitely been linked to that?
We're going to find out. That's what the committee is. That's why I asked Mr. Smith to go ahead and put this together. And I want to thank the Attorney General, and I want to thank the law enforcement for being part of this process. There's going to be room for everyone to speak at these meetings. So if you have something on Fast and Furious, if you have some concerns about what went on, this is the place that Arizona is going to have an opportunity to speak. This is the place where they're going to be able to bring some of the facts and figures. Thank you for being with us here today.
What are your thoughts that nobody's been held
It's going to be
accountable?
an open committee. So I just said it's an open committee. Where we're going to be.
What are your thoughts that nobody's been held accountable?
We're going to go now. We have another meeting, but I want to thank you all for being here.
What are you planning to find, though? How are you going to find this information?
Coming out. Appreciate it.